Thank you all for joining us at SLOLA. And I just wanted to go over a little bit about specifically the goals of SLOLA and how our seed library works. So the goals of SLOLA are to grow acclimated seeds to our specific bioregion and climate, so as to cultivate crops and plants that are more resilient, hardy, and fruitful because they're naturalized to our weather here in East LA. And this process takes about 7 seasons. We are also interested in building a community of gardeners and people interested in food security, habitat restoration, and wildlife, as well as a network of knowledge and wisdom so that we can cultivate communal resiliency for us humans, the legacy of the seeds we're growing, and the wildlife that we cohabitate with. SLOLA works via our meetings and then lots of correspondence through email. So our meetings are always open for all to attend and they are free. We'll have guest speakers each month who will share on various topics that we find relevant to the mission. And we also factor in what our members want to learn. To be a member, you must live in LA, and we ask that you live close enough to East LA so that when we go back to in-person meetings, you will be able to join us in person. Membership is a simple process. You pay a one-time $10 donation, and you'll be invited to check out seeds monthly. And we use the term check out because the intention is that you'll actually be returning these seeds that you save to contribute to the evolution of our library. We get many of our seeds from companies like Baker Creek. We would love to grow other selections, other sections of our library, like our native California plants, flowers, and medicinal and herbal plants. Seeds returned to the library must be open pollinated, organic, and non-GMO. If you have questions about this, please email us. And then also we ask that you take the precautions necessary to avoid hybridization of certain plants that like to do that. And we will continue to have seed saving workshops so you can learn more. And I will give it back to Jessica.
So that's kind of an overview of how the library works. If you're interested in membership, and we'll put a link in the chat. It's an online form that we have now. Danielle just dropped all of our pertinent contact information in the chat. And before I hand it over to Nancy, I want to make a plug for a special event that we're doing in partnership with the Bob Lucas branch of the Altadena Library and several other organizations, community organizations, and volunteers. Some of you may already know that the Bob Lucas branch is transforming their exterior. They've already put in a California native demonstration garden, and with the help of many community volunteers. And at the end of April, we're going to be doing our first in-person event, and they will be installing raised beds and a food crop garden, demo garden, and trees possibly, and some other things. So this is an in-person event where you help to install the garden and plant it out. It is really extremely limited in the number of people. So it's maxed at 10 participants per session. There are 2 sessions on the Saturday, April 24th, where the beds will be constructed and filled with soil. And then on the 25th, that Sunday, is the workshops for planting the beds. So while you'll be volunteering and helping to put the garden in place, you can also be learning skills and info that you can take home with you into your own garden. I will put that link in the chat as soon as I hand it over to Nancy. It's filling up, and like I said, there's only 10 spots per session. So just so you know, the morning session repeats in the afternoon. So you just need to sign up for one, either the morning or the afternoon sessions. All right, so I'm going to hand it over to Nancy, urban farmer, and maybe you know her from the Altadena Farmers Market or Hollywood Farmers Market. And I'm going to spotlight you, Nancy, and take it away.
Hi, good morning, guys. I'm Nancy Chin with Nancy's Garden, and I've been growing veggies since I was about, 5-6 years old. And it's kind of weird the way I'm seeing this. Sorry. And I turned a hobby into a business. And I've always enjoyed gardening, and I've always found it to be my happy place. And it just kind of, every time I had a stressful day, I'll just go sit in the garden and use a pickaxe and go at it. And it always kind of calmed me down. So today I'm going to answer any questions you guys have afterwards. And I think Sue is going to give me the questions. And my subject today is transplanting. And I'm going to kind of go through all the things that you would need to do before you start. So depending on how you want to, where you're going to plant it, in a raised bed, if you're going to do it in an earth box, if you're going to do it, your container gardening, pick your spots and know what item you're going to plant. Like if it's a cool season crop, pick the correct for that season. And then amend your soil. And what I personally do is if I'm going to plant tomatoes, I'll start 6 months earlier, and I'll rot my manures, and I do all the prep work. And then I let it sit and cure. And then if I'm doing it in an earth box, I will prep the soil, and then I will do the fertilizers. And for me, I'm certified organic, so I'm using True, which is a 777, and I do it in a strip. And all the plants except tomatoes that I know of is where you just dig a hole and then you just put it at level. And just a tad, but the only thing is tomatoes, for instance. I've got some here. I don't know if you guys can see. And when I put them in the ground, what I'll do is I'll pinch everything off to where this just point is sticking out. And then I bury it. And if I'm doing my romaines, for instance, like these guys, I will just put it straight to the surface. And after I do my compost, if I'm doing, depending on what kind of fertilizer, if I'm doing compost tea, if I'm doing compost, if I'm doing anything with manures, sometimes I like to use fish meal. And I will do everything while I plant it. If I put the tomatoes in, I'll do the clips, I'll do the staking, I'll put them on a bamboo pole. I'll do everything at that point. And I get it done. I do all the clipping, and then I start one row of twine to get it going. So I get everything prepped. And then another thing that's important is spacing your plants. Know how many, how big it's gonna get. If you're gonna use a concrete, sometimes I use concrete cages, and like the concrete wire, excuse me. And how far you're going to space that. And then tomatoes is one of the things where you can kind of, there's a lot of things you can add. I usually use dolomite. You can use calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and sometimes people play with Epsom salt. If I'm doing it in a raised bed, I put a concoction in there. And at one point, when I wasn't certified organic, I would put fish heads, and I would put fish, and I would dig it really low. And another thing that's really important about tomatoes is, and I get this every time I sell seedlings, why is it so green and I don't have any fruit? And I'm like, oh, okay, you gave it too much fertilizer, and you're going to get these beautiful plants and you're going to get nothing to eat. And so that's one of the things you have to kind of work with and keep that in mind. And then I'm always telling people it's supposed to be fun, and you're supposed to enjoy it and not over stress about, what comes out. And if you try to overthink it, it doesn't work. So kind of just take it easy and enjoy being outside, doing, playing with the kids out there, giving them an idea of growing their own food. And I think that's where I'm at. And I'm hoping that Sue will give me some questions. And if I missed anything, please ask. Is that okay, Jessica? Do you want me to go into something more specific?
You can, yeah, we can take questions and keep the conversation going.
Yes.
That way.
Does anybody have some questions, Sue?
Yes.
Do you want me to go about the nursery and the transplants? What to buy, look for now?
Let's circle back to that because there are some other questions that have come up.
Okay.
One is Antoinette would like to know if you've got a website or how she can get information on your business.
I don't have a website, but I'm on Instagram, and I will is Nancy's Organic Garden, and I can ask any questions there.
Great. So Danielle, if you want to throw up at Nancy's Organic Garden on Instagram in the chat, people can go find her. Antoinette, oh sorry, Emily would like to know, where do you get your bamboo and fish meal?
I actually buy it through a company in Washington State. It's called Be Right. It's a wholesaler. I haven't tried to source it any other way. And I call him my dirt guy, but he doesn't sell that. So I get it from Washington State. And the bamboo sticks, Grocery Outlet has them. I usually buy them at 99-cent store.
Okay. So in other words, this is not something that you have to invest money in. You want to look for a cheap solution.
Yes, and I buy my clips that I use on my earth boxes at 99-cent store.
Awesome. Okay. Emily also wants to know, how many times should she plant up her tomato pots or pot up her tomato plants?
Oh, I see. I usually start them on a plug tray, and then I transplant them straight in to one of these pots. And then that's it. I only go one time.
So that's what you grow your tomatoes in, is a pot that size?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. Good to know.
Sometimes, depending if I have them, I do like the eggplants in these little ones.
And those are big enough to get them fully fruiting?
No, I put them in earth boxes.
Oh. So you pot them up twice then? You go from the starter to one up and then to their forever home.
Straight into my earth box.
Okay. What exactly is an earth box?
Sorry?
What exactly is an earth box?
An earth box is it's earthbox.com. And where I used to live, somebody had a really big pine tree, my neighbor, and they wouldn't trim it, and it shaded my whole yard. So somebody suggested, oh, why don't you try these earth boxes? They are, I can plant 2 tomatoes in them. They're a container garden. I usually, you can look it up, earthbox.com. And I tried them. And then as a gardener that I used the ground and I did raised beds, I hated it. I wanted to throw it out the door, and it was just one of those things where it didn't work for me. And then I tried it again, and I'm in love with them now. So I've invested about maybe 600 earth boxes for the business.
Wow.
And that's what I plant mainly in an earth box now.
Okay.
And so it's basically sort of like a hydroponic. It's a marriage between a hydroponic and a regular planting. It's a little bit different where you put the fertilizer on top and the water comes from the bottom.
So the box is wick.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does that make the watering easier?
I put them all on a drip. I have to make my life easy. I'm a one-woman show. So everything's on a drip.
Okay. So let's see what else we got. We got a lot of questions here. Can you explain again how you trim your tomatoes before planting, before
Oh, yeah,
uppotting?
sure. Yeah, sure. I'll do right here. So this is my plant. And the reason why I like these deeper pots is they fit into my earth box nicer because I want them really deep.
Mhm.
So this works better for me. And what I'll do is I'm gonna take this plant out like I'm planting it. And then I'll go all the way to here.
Okay, do you leave the flowers on?
In this case, I probably will not.
Okay. Okay, so let's see.
It depends on my mood.
Antoinette wants to know if it's possible to get notes from the presentation. What I would recommend, Antoinette, is watch the playback on our YouTube channel when you are not traveling.
Hey guys, this is Danielle. I'm gonna jump in and drop in some links right now so that you guys can, you know, I didn't want to kind of scatter them throughout the discussion, but I'm gonna drop in some links and you guys can check them out. So first, here is the link to Nancy's Instagram. So if you guys are on Instagram, go ahead and follow her. Very straightforward, Nancy's Organic Garden. And I'm also gonna drop in, she had mentioned Earthbox. So here's the link to that website. And then also, just to reiterate what Sue said, we really encourage all of you guys to revisit the meeting videos that we have. We've been recording these meetings for the last several months. So we do encourage you to go to our YouTube channel and subscribe. That way you can always come back and watch the video, you know, listen to the Q&A again, which is always really interesting. So there's a link in there for YouTube. You can go ahead and click on that and subscribe. And then anytime, even if you miss a meeting, you can come back and rewatch it. So we've also got there our new member form, our email in case you need to reach us, and our Instagram account as well.
Okay, we have a question from Christy. I'm not sure how to say your last name, Christy, so I will not butcher it and just say it's from Christy. My tomato plants made it through winter and are still producing. They are scraggly and 5 feet tall. Should I cut them back to produce new growth and more flowers?
I would. And for me, because it's a business, I never save my plants because I'm gonna use that space to plant something else. So I don't overwinter my tomatoes, and but that's just me because I don't have the space, and I personally think they don't taste as great, but I would cut it down, I would trim it, and then fertilize it and prop it up.
How far back do you think she should trim it?
For me, I would go back as I would pretty much hack it.
You mean to the ground?
Like really like really cut it down.
Okay.
I would trim it down because she's saying straggly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would really trim hard.
Got it. Okay. Emily, who loves a bargain, says, where do you get your pots?
What kind of pots?
I think she's talking about the small pots.
The small pots?
Yeah.
I save them. I don't buy them.
So you've just collected them up over the years.
And I keep reusing them.
Excellent.
The only ones I do buy is the my trays to do my seedling, like the grow trays.
Yeah, with the little 4-inch starters.
Yes, and I buy those at hydroponic stores.
Got it. Okay. Now, Andreas wants to know, how do you deal with pest and mold on your plants?
This is not going to be an easy one for me because I'm certified organic and I'm not allowed to use any chemicals on my plants. And if I do use chemicals, I have to ask for permission and I have to say, okay, I've got this problem. Can I use spinosad or can I use something else? I have to go up a chain. So for me, it's easier. I wipe it out. Like I'll take the plants out, I'll start over somewhere else. Or I'll move them, I'll cut it down, like I'll trim it up. And I try to take as much pests and disease away as I can. And I just work with it because for me to go through the organic ordeal, I'd rather not. So I might not be the best person to talk about pest control because my way is to take it out.
I don't know. That's kind of what I've done over the years with
Yes.
broccoli and aphids.
Yes,
You know,
exactly.
the aphids turn
I
up,
do the same
broccoli
thing.
goes away. Yeah.
Start again.
Right. Okay, Jennifer wants to know, what month do you start your tomato seeds and when do you transplant them outside?
Okay. For almost, it varies every year. I kind of play like, you know, how cold is it? And I usually start them at around January. And then I kind of play this game on keeping, you know, transplanting them and trying to keep them alive and not leggy. And I don't have a greenhouse at this moment. So I kind of, you know, put the lights and do all that. So this year with the building the new house, I haven't had the time. So I did them a little bit later and I did them outside, like in a kind of a little greenhouse. And it's not really a greenhouse. I kind of put plastic. And so usually I would start January and then I would plant out, usually March 17th is my day. But this year I just did it last week. I planted them out last week because it's been really cold here and it wasn't comfortable.
Got
But
it. You want to make sure you've got a good stable warmth before you plant them out then? Is that the deal?
Yes. Well, I hardened them and then I put them out last week.
Okay. And how do you harden them?
I just bring them out in the day when it's nice and sunny. I bring them back in, back and forth.
Okay.
For about a week.
Got it. Okay. Companion plants. Which veggies? This is from Lisa. Yep. Which veggies are good companions in a raised bed for spring planting? Well,
it just depends on, like, you know, you can do a Three Sisters if you want corn. I mean, it just depends on what you want and letting them grow with like the beans. And then sometimes it's good to but to me, I'm more of a, you know, I'm a row gardener. I just do everything one shot. Mm-hmm. And because of space, and I don't mingle them. And so I would personally think of something like a Three Sisters if she wants to go like companion.
Okay, so you're not going to go for companion planting because you're basically at this point a commercial grower?
Yes.
Which, by the way, if any of you are ever at the Hollywood Farmers Market, look for Nancy's booth. Her produce is always remarkable.
Thank you, Sue.
Yeah, that's how we got to be friends originally. Was, you know, you selling it out to Dina, and I'd go up and ask you like 2 billion questions, and then take pictures of all your beautiful produce. Okay. What should I do to ensure transplanted seedlings from pot to ground are healthy? And what warning signs should I look for? That is from Jennifer.
What to look for? Okay, so if you transplanted them and you transplanted them, so usually at this point, when the plant looks like this small, I just replanted it. And I would give it some fish emulsion.
Okay. So you do fertilize your plants in the 1-up size.
Yes.
Good to know. Okay.
And sometimes I also put I'll use the fish meal and I'll mix it into my potting mix.
Okay, let's see. Emily asked, should you trim all past plants, milkweed, hot pepper plants from last year?
Say that again?
Okay, Emily wants to know if you should be trimming all of your plants that have overwintered, including milkweed, hot pepper plants, and I guess anything else you've got that's overwintered. Well, that's not really your technique, but what would you recommend?
I would cut it back again.
Yeah,
I would cut back.
okay, just to give it a fresh start, right?
Yes, yes, and trim it up. Like my neighbor had an overwintered chili plant, and they went on vacation. They asked me to go take care of it, so I just trimmed all the dead parts, and then I cut it back.
Okay.
I
How
cut the
much
top.
how
and
much
cut it back.
plant was left when you cut it back?
It was huge, and they tied it back, and then the stick broke, and then I cut it by half.
Got it. Okay. Now,
You might maybe maybe not quite half, maybe a little bit, higher than that, but I went pretty hard on it.
yeah, Phelan, I'm having trouble reading this, wants to know, how often do I have to fertilize tomato plants?
Okay, if you're doing it in a raised bed, if you're planting the tomato in the raised bed, and you dug your hole, you put the compost, you did all your amendments to it, you plant it in, I don't do it again. I personally will not do it again.
So just
So-
when you're actually planting it out, you fertilize it and then
Yes.
let it go for the rest of the season.
Yes, again, you have to be careful with your fertilizer. If you over fertilize, you can have beautiful plants and nothing to eat.
Okay. And Emily, I see that Lexine answered your question about the milkweed, but you should also know that last month we had a whole meeting on monarch butterflies, and milkweed was discussed quite a bit. So I recommend you go to our YouTube channel and watch that, and you'll learn a lot. I know I did.
Sorry, I have no help there.
Yeah. Okay. Lisa wants to know, what is fish emulsion?
It's just basically a liquid fish poop.
It's a liquid fish. Okay.
You can find it at Lowe's, Home Depot, Armstrong.
Okay. And how do you plan your planting for consistent production throughout the session? I'm sorry, throughout the season. Jesus, my eyes.
That's a really good question. When I turn it into a business, I try to figure this out. Like, okay, I predict what people are gonna want, and some people I've learned don't like the varieties I pick or what I like. So I'm always messing up. And what happens is, like last year, for instance, it was such a crappy year. And what had come up was, I was like, okay, I didn't have any more work to do. And then I was like, I'm gonna plant everything in, all my gigs disappeared. And then I'm gonna take all this time and plant. So I planted everything in 2 days. And then I go, when will I do my next round? So I waited because I was like, wow, I can't predict what people are gonna buy or how the year was gonna go. So I waited a little bit too long for my second round, and I got into trouble with the spider mites.
Yes.
So it's never any hard and fast rules. I can't tell you, because I got in trouble last year. So my whole second crop was basically a waste. It didn't get to fruit. The spider mites came out in droves, So the best thing you can do is I don't usually plant anywhere past May.
Oh, okay. So basically then from March 17th through the end of May, you're doing staggered plantings.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I have two sections. I have two sections of earth boxes. I do one, and then 1 month later, I do the second.
Okay, so there's a
And that's it.
stagger. Got it. Okay, Andres missed the beginning of the meeting and he wants to know, do you start your tomatoes from seed? And how do you start them?
I start them in like that. I wish I brought it. It's like a plug tray. I start them on a plug tray with Pro Mix. I think it's BX. And I just put the soil down and then I wet it and I put the seeds in and I put on a heat mat. And I let them pop and then I go into my then I plant in here.
Got it. Okay, Jennifer wants to know.
Oh,
when
yes,
do you-
seeds.
I'm sorry, yes, from seed.
Oh, yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, when do you pull a plant and how do you know when a plant is spent and done for you as a commercial plant farmer?
Well, for me, it's like I'm going to use sun goat, for instance, cherry tomatoes. It will drag on for about a month, the plants. I could harvest for a good month. And then you can fertilize and then wait for the second round. For me, I just take it out and then I start again.
Okay, do you grow primarily indeterminate or determinate tomatoes?
I do both.
Okay. And
I just stick to whatever varieties I enjoy. I do either. I'll do both.
okay, in case someone here doesn't know, can you explain the difference between the two?
Determinate means that it'll go to a certain size, like one shot is pretty much it. And then indeterminate means that it'll just keep on going. It'll overwinter and you can, cut it back a little bit and then have fruit again.
Mhm.
So that's indeterminate. It can just keep on going. And the determinate means that one shot is it.
Got it. Okay, here we are in April, and not everybody has started their seeds back in January or February. So some folks are going to end up going to the nurseries, to the big box stores, to places like that to find seedlings. What should they look for?
I would look for not overly, like, to me, this plant is perfect.
Okay.
And I would say that it's strong. Well, like this one I took apart, I'm sorry. But you want to look for plants that are, I would go for single plants.
Okay.
And I wouldn't go for ones with, 6 of them there. And because they're stronger. And you would just want to make sure that they don't have any like black spots, any disease, any bugs. Don't bring home bugs. And I would just make sure that they were nicely moist, because at the big box stores, they let them dry out.
Yeah.
And I don't feel that's good. And they don't seem to take as good care of them. And they just kind of leave them out too much and not water them.
Should you be concerned if a plant might be root bound, or is that something you can fix when you get home?
I would open it up and look at it. You know what I mean? I would pull it out and look at it, and the root should be it should be like this. But
Okay.
if you have it like circling and hard and the two, like 5 of them together, I wouldn't buy that.
Okay.
And why, if you're there to pay top dollar, and why do you need to fix it? No.
Good to know. And what about like with tomatoes, if they have flowers or fruits on them?
Well, it depends on my mood. Like in this case, they're starting to flower already. And this is a Cherokee purple. And I would, in this case, take it all out.
Okay.
Okay.
That's
I
whether you
think
started it yourself or buying it from a nursery.
I started this myself.
Right, but
I'm
if
just
you
gonna
found one
share
like this in a nursery, would you do the same thing?
Yes. I
Okay.
personally would, this has been a weird year too for me. Like some of the ones I had to let it sit out longer than I wanted to because I didn't feel it was time to plant them yet because
Mhm.
I thought it was too cold. So I usually would have been in at least 2, 3 weeks ago. And I'm dragging it out right now. So that's why they're starting to flower out and they're just a little bit off, you know?
Yeah.
So I would take the flowers off.
Okay. What happens if you leave the flowers on in a situation like that?
They'll be fine.
Okay.
It's just, to me, it's just draining from the plant. I want the plants to have more vigor
Right.
instead of having the flowers at that moment. I want the plant to thrive.
Right.
And then
But-
you got this, then it's got this sucker on it, you know, trying to, which one does it feed? So I'd rather feed the roots and have it very strong. And the fruits will come later or flower again.
Good. Okay. Do we have any other questions?
There was one question about lettuce that was a little ways back.
Yeah,
I
most of
can't
us
remember who
have.
asked it. How do we know it's time to harvest garden lettuce?
You know, like garden, like lettuces, you can pick them young. You know what I mean? It just depends on what you want to do. If you want to just pick leaves and then let it grow back. For me, I like nice big heads to sell. And but for you, you can, as a home gardener, I like to pick them as young as I can and make a nice salad. So it's just up to you, really.
So the question might be, how do you make sure you pick it before it starts to bolt?
But you know, you can't predict it. Like I have a bunch of them bolting right now because the heat wave that came, the heat last week, and
Mhm.
they went to bolt, a few of them. So it's just trial and error. I'm sorry. It's just, you just have to keep on, plant some more.
Now, when they start to bolt, can you still eat the greens at all?
They're really bitter and they get a bit stringy.
Okay.
I say no. The
Okay.
chickens get mine. Like someone had some radicchio that went to bolt too, and I just pulled them out. They went to town with it.
Yes. Okay. Any other questions? Have I missed any others, Jessica?
Yeah, I got one more. How big should bok choy be to plant in the garden?
How big is bok choy?
To
For bok choy,
transplant.
okay. Bok choy for me, I usually sow it direct. It's easier for me. And for me to go in individually and plant them is a little bit harder. And so I usually just sow it and then I thin and I sell the thinnings. And then I let certain ones get bigger. And then you have to be careful what kind you're growing. Like for me, I'm always growing baby bok choy, and I do the extra dwarf ones. And so it depends, you have to make sure what kind you have. And to plant it, I'm usually, if you do it, like if you're doing the seed tray, I would say about this size of this romaine would be good to plant in.
Is there anything else that you direct sow in your earth boxes?
I don't direct sow in the earth box. I only direct sow in my raised beds.
Oh, okay.
Because for me, I can't waste the time to sow in my earth box. Like it's all money for me. So I can't let it sit there idling. I don't know if that makes sense. And the space is smaller, and I don't find that it works for me to direct sow like baby bok choy or anything in there, because I do it in big sections. Like my spinach, like my lettuces, my baby bok choy. I do like a mesclun mix. I do all those in raised beds, which
Okay.
I compost, and I use lots of mulch.
And those are all the things that you direct sow.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Do you use any physical barriers for pests like row covers or shade cloth for heat in the summer?
My whole, I use shade cloth, even on my tomatoes in the back, because it gets really hot and then they get sunburn. So I do use a shade cloth. So we bought like 10-foot poles and we bought shade cloth. And the only other thing I have is against the chickens, because the chickens will fly over 8 feet and go to town with the tomatoes. They'll peck a couple holes on each one and walk down the rows. And so we just have to pick her up and throw her back over. And then my other problem right now is raccoons and skunks.
What are they doing to your garden?
The skunks are digging up holes, getting the grubs, and they're flinging the plants over, and they're digging these huge holes. So that I'm having the problem with that with skunks. And well, raccoons they'll dig up gardens too, but they're more of a trouble for the chickens. And the squirrels, I got all kinds of problems.
Someone said critters sound like they're having a party. Yeah. Are you putting up any barriers for the large animal pest?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Hang on. Mulch. What are the best options for mulch and why?
Well, you want to keep it you want to keep the ground moist, and so the seeds will germinate, so you can not water as much, so that it could mulching is just, to me, it's very important. And or you can sometimes I'll use like a compost and then I'll use the mulch. For me, I buy from my dirt guy. So I don't know what options there are in the store. I hope that makes
So
sense.
you don't do like straw or wood chips or anything like that?
No.
Just slightly broken down mulch.
Yes. It almost looks like compost.
Okay. So
And all of this is all related to being certified organic.
right.
All my products have to be OMRI. This is why it's a little bit difficult. And I'm not trying to, not answer the question, but it's a little bit more difficult for me. All my products have to be OMRI.
Okay. Corn stalks.
Yeah,
Christy says she's having skunks and squirrels doing the dig and toss too, and she's worried about the corn she's about to plant. Any thoughts on protecting corn stalks?
Well, corn has been one of those things where, as a gardener, I love growing them. I love eating them. Mine last year was the rats came in and ate all the kernels.
Oh my.
So they came in. I was like, okay, I tried one of the corn. It wasn't quite there. So I thought maybe another week or two. And by the time I got there, the rats had eaten everything. So I don't know how to protect, mine. So I really don't even know how the stalks. I tried through it like in a caged area, but the rats can come through that.
Right.
So I'm not sure how to. I'm sorry.
I should rent Ginger to you. Ginger is one of our cats who likes to bring rats into the house, dead or alive. Anyway, she's a good rat catcher.
I'm feeding the cats. I'm trying to get them to work, but they're not quite working.
Oh, you don't have the right cats.
No, I don't. Send her on an Uber ride.
Maybe, okay. Any more questions?
I have a question.
Sorry. I'm thinking for the corn, maybe she should wait for it to be a little bit bigger and then get it out there, and then maybe I'm thinking maybe she should wait for it to be a bigger stalk before she transplant it in the ground, maybe.
Okay. Danielle, you have a question?
Yeah, Nancy, can you give everybody a quick rundown of where you're currently selling and on what days of the week? And maybe a few things, mention a few things that you're growing right now that people can come get from you that you would recommend. I think
Okay.
that'd be really great to let everybody know where and when and what you're selling.
Okay. On Wednesday, I just started back selling in Altadena. This will be my 3rd week, and it's online, and you could order from, I think, Thursday to Saturday, and it's AFM subscription. And I'm selling baby bok choy. I'm selling lettuces, Freckle, Sierra, Romaine, and I'm doing kind of like a salad mix where we wash it and we spin it, and it's pre-packaged. And I'm also doing Napa cabbages, mustards, and I've got collard greens going. And gosh, what else do I have? And right now I'm selling fuerte avocados and beautiful navel oranges that are super sweet. And so this is kind of like my in-between, where I decide how much of my lettuces I'm going to replant and hope that they don't bolt. And then do I do that, or do I just start to plant my tomatoes in? See, so this is one of those time of year that it gets very difficult. You have to make decisions, and how much longer can I go to the market with what I got, and then waiting another month or 2 before the tomatoes come in. So it becomes a little interesting. And then the next market is on Sunday, and my husband's in Alhambra selling, and he is in on 2nd Street, and it's been between Main and Commonwealth, 8 to 1. And I'm in the same time spot, 8 to 1 in Hollywood. And I am, they moved me to Selma now. I used to be on Ivar, so I'm on Selma. And and the same things, I'm selling just greens right now. Any other questions?
When are you going to start having fruits?
Well, they're just flowering right now. And then the mulberries are, the chickens showed me that they're ripening now. So mulberries are coming up.
Excellent.
Which is a lovely time of year. I love mulberries. And then the fruits, the figs and the fruits, probably July.
Okay.
Yeah. Anybody else? Questions for me?
Do you ever sell seedlings?
I do. For the last couple of years, I sell tomato seedlings and like tatsoi, and it just, unfortunately, the ag department makes things very difficult because I have to get a nursery license to sell at the farmer's market. So, and this year I've with the, the construction and all these, the pandemic and all these things, it's just driving me nuts. I didn't get a chance to send in my paperwork and my money. So I'm probably not going to sell seedlings this year.
Okay, but we can look at
unless you ask me and I can do it privately, that I probably would, but I can't take it to the market and sell because I think I'm too late for the paperwork right now.
Also, if anybody has any questions about Nancy or her schedule or what she's selling, you can reach out to her on Instagram at Nancy's Organic Garden.
Yep.
Plus, you can see a lot of days what she's growing because she posts lots of pretty pictures.
Yes, yes.
And you sell eggs too, right?
Yes, I do. And I sell duck eggs and geese eggs.
I did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
As well as chicken eggs. Nancy has a couple of chickens.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe more than a couple. Any other questions?
And that love affair started with the gardening at the same time.
Oh, really?
Yes, yes. I've been hatching chickens since I was about 6 too.
Wow. Chickens and gardens kind of go together well.
No, they don't. Come on. Mama can
In
take
your-
down the whole row.
In our dreams, they do.
In theory, it does, but in actuality, it doesn't work good. One day, Mama was up in on my earth box, dust bathing. And
Oh,
so she
no.
hit all the dust and the dirt, and Mr. Grumpy was so upset.
Mr.
No.
Grumpy is Nancy's husband. That's not his real name.
Yes, it is. That's what he is.
Okay. Well, if there are no more
Anybody
questions, should we turn this back over to Jessica?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Nancy, for taking your time out of your busy, I know your weekends are busy. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us this morning. And also it's interesting to hear kind of the difference between like home gardening and gardening for business. I mean, there are definitely some differences. So if any of you out there are thinking about starting a business, you can kind of dip your toes into what the differences might be when you're thinking about planning and all of that stuff. So thank you for that insight and that peek into your world. I'm going to share in the chat the registration link for the in-person garden installation workshop that's happening it's April 25th, that weekend. I just left it in there. I realized the first time I shared it to the waiting room. It's been kind of a techie glitchy morning for me. So it's there if you're interested in checking that out. Be sure to follow Nancy on Instagram. You can follow us on Instagram as well at SLOLA Altadena. Danielle just dropped all those contact stuff in the chat. It's just a few chats up if you're looking for it. Next month for May, we have a really fascinating top talk on fire ecology in Southern California. And as we know, every summer we're dealing with fires in our backyards practically. And so this is a really interesting talk. I think it focuses on Santa Monica Mountains, but definitely applications to here, the San Gabriel Front Range. So, and then in June, we'll have Jessica Handy from Kiss the Ground to talk about regenerative gardening as well. So those are what we have on tap. July, we take a break from our monthly meeting, and then we'll be back for the rest of the year. So we hope that you'll continue to tune in and join us and learn with us. If you are a member, seed checkouts are due today by the end of the day. So just remember to get those in if you're checking out seeds this month. They'll be filled probably toward the end of the week, next week, and in the mail shortly thereafter. Kind of depends on how many people are checking seeds out. And with that, please join us next month. Thank you for coming. And we will, oh, do you have something, Sue?
Two more things I wanted to mention. One is the Altadena Library, who has been, a staunch supporter and ally for us from the get-go, produces a monthly podcast, and Jessica and I were interviewed on it for the next episode that's getting released soon, very soon. And we will put a link or some sort of a notice in a newsletter as soon as it's up and live. Very exciting. And I just wanted to say also that we are looking for volunteers. If anybody wants to step up and give us a hand, the group is run 100% by volunteer power. And there's always things to do. Whatever your talents are, we will find a way to utilize them for the good of the group with as little time on your part as humanly possible. But the more of us there are to share the weight, the lighter the weight is for all of us. Isn't that how that expression goes?
Something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. So, if you want to volunteer, reach out on Instagram, send us an email. But let us know you want to play, because it is fun and it's a lovely, lovely bunch of people to work with.
All right. Thanks, Sue. Thanks for remembering all those details. All right, everybody, have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the nice weather, and we'll see you next month.